giddy up,
Yeah.
as Dante once said. Okay, so progressing then up the Mount of Purgatory, there are a few ranks before you get to the gates of Purgatory proper, where you meet the angel guardian of Purgatory, and he carves the 7 P's on Dante's forehead, representing the 7 deadly sins. So there are these kind of stages of anti-purgatory where you encounter the excommunicants and the late repentance and the indolent and the Valley of the Kings. And it strikes me in those various encounters that we have a deeper appreciation with each story as it's told of the ponderous mercy of God, and specifically how God is poised in his mercy to claim those who might be far off. You know, like a thief in the night. He comes when you least expect it, not to catch you unawares, but to catch you in the web of his mercy. And so, like, he'll talk to Buonaconte da Montefeltro, who talks about the Battle of Campoldino and how he's lost in the River Arno, I think. But even as his lifeblood is gushing from his wounded neck, he manages to pronounce the name of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and that in itself is sufficient for his salvation. Now, it's going to be some time before he makes his way to heaven because there's a lot yet to purge. But it's like the Lord will take whatever we consent to and cooperate with, even the most minuscule thing, as a way by which to draw us back to himself permanently, stably in the life of heaven. So what do you think about these various stories, these various encounters which testify to God's mercy?
Yeah, what my first, like not my first thought in the sense of I'm first hearing them, but like my first thought here is that purgatory seems to be a sort of like scary place in the sense of like you have a lot of people in purgatory who have great sin, who have, some sin and we'll talk about like the different types of sin as we enter in. But it seems to me that there's a sort of like frightfulness about it, even though you mentioned this permanent state, even though those souls in purgatory are going to at one point in time, at some point in time, going to arrive at the gates of heaven. There's still like a frightfulness to it. And I think as we were talking about like their boat ride and entrance there and then beginning to meet these people on this sort of antechambers, that sort of like gravitas and seriousness kind of sets in. But there's also like a beauty in it too, because like the ascent up the mountain is to somewhere. It's not like a thankless, or not a thankless task, but a sort of like it comes to an end. There's
not
a
an
point
aimless
to
task.
an aimless task. Yeah, exactly. So there's also a beauty to it too, that is not experienced, of course, in the Inferno. There's similarities, but like the end is different, and you begin to see this here, where it's like, okay, people have begged God's mercy, and whether it's late or however, and there's a hopefulness kind of beginning to permeate even what seems to be daunting.
Yeah, and then as you ascend, it's interesting. The source of our hope, or the horizon of our hope, is made very clear. There's this very striking scene in which Dante learns for the first time that he can ascend when the sun isn't out, right? So when the sun sets, he loses the power to make his way up the mount. And that communicates in spades, and Virgil helps him to interpret it, that it's only by the grace of God that one makes any progress, whether in this life or in the next, like insofar as we make progress, improperly so called, in purgatory. It's more so a matter of sloughing off those things which hindered or which otherwise posed obstacles to our progress while in life. So this idea of like the primacy of grace, the primacy of God's initiative, which we encounter here in this life in various ways, but in the next life yet more powerfully, and ultimately in the glory of heaven. Father Jacob Bertrand.
Father Gregory.
A Dominican, a Franciscan, and a Jesuit walk into a bar. One of them asks the audience to subscribe. That's not a joke. Any ways you can improve upon it?
Just don't tell jokes.
Right. This is not a joke. Please subscribe. Cheers.